Will Roman Reigns Goldberg? What should we expect from Alexa Bliss in her in-ring return? And will Bobby Lashley prove that unlike his opponents, he is well and truly the Almighty? What's up, wrestling fans? My name is Aaron, your analytical assassin. This is Wrestling by Wooldridge, and these are my Elimination Chamber predictions. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. It is very good to have you, and if you're returning, it is great to see you again. At the time of recording, we have 8 confirmed matchups. We have the Women's Elimination Chamber match to determine who will face the Raw Women's Champion at WrestleMania. We have Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss. Again, we have Rey Mysterio versus The Miz. We have Smackdown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair and Sonya Deville versus Ronda Rousey and Naomi. We have the Usos versus the Viking Raiders for the Smackdown Tag Team Championships. We have the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns versus Goldberg for the Universal Championship. We have Becky Lynch versus Hall of Famer Lita for the Raw Women's Championship. And we have the Men's Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship. So Elimination Chamber takes place on Saturday the 19th of February at the Jeddah Superdome in Jeddah, Mecca Providence, Saudi Arabia. For those of you in the States, the event starts at 12 PM Eastern, 11 AM Central and 9 AM Pacific time, so quite an early one for you guys, and the show will be available to stream with a premium subscription to your favourite streaming service, Peacock. Over here in the UK, the event starts at a lovely 5 PM and will be airing live on the WWE network as it will for all other countries. If you enjoy this video, subscribe, like, share, hit the notification bell, all of that fun stuff to help the channel grow. So let's kick off with the Women's Elimination Chamber match, which will be contested by Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Doudrop, Liv Morgan, Nikki Ash and Alexa Bliss. Now, I think most would agree that Bianca Belair is probably the safest bet to win here, but what I will say is that I think WWE have done a stellar job of making their women's division look competitive, to the point where each woman in this match could be deemed worthy of a title opportunity. Nikki Ash, Doudrop and Liv Morgan are probably the outside bets, but I think all 3 women have definitely earned their right to be in this chamber match. Nikki Ash is a former women's champion, Liv Morgan has been in and around the title picture since the tail end of last year, and Doudrop has been on the rise ever since she left the side of Eva Marie. As for the other 3 competitors, well, Rhea Ripley might have actually been considered as an outside bet 2 months ago, but recently she has been booked a hell of a lot stronger. She put in a fantastic shift in the Women's Royal Rumble match. She almost ran the gauntlet on the latest edition of Monday Night Raw. Could she win the chamber match? Maybe. Alexa Bliss is a complete wildcard in this match, and honestly, I'm not really sure what to expect from her, but we should remember that Alexa Bliss is still one of the most decorated members of the women's roster. She's featured on recent episodes of Raw, so it is clear that WWE officials have plans for her. A championship match at WrestleMania may not be out of the realms of possibility. However, I do think that this is Bianca's match to lose. Now that Ronda has chosen to face Charlotte at WrestleMania, there is a great opportunity for Bianca to finally avenge her SummerSlam loss to Becky at the grandest stage of them all. So I'm predicting that Bianca wins the chamber match and earns that opportunity. Next up, we have the rematch that we have all been waiting for. Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss. Hurrah! Not much to talk about here, it's an easy one to predict. This is definitely a stepping stone for Drew McIntyre before he moves on to face Happy Corbin at WrestleMania. Hardly the main event scene, which is a shame considering Drew is still one of the top performers in the company, but hopefully once this feud is done, we will see Drew get back to business at the top end of the card. McIntyre to win this one without a doubt. Rey Mysterio versus The Miz is up next. Hello 2010! Fans have been speculating over the Mysterios splitting up for quite some time now, though each time it has seemed likely to happen, we're left to carry on speculating. However, I wonder whether this will be the match where it finally happens. Here's a quick piece of fantasy booking for you. Rey is on the verge of winning the match, but Dominic inadvertently distracts Rey and costs him the match. Dominic initially appears to be apologetic towards his father, who begrudgingly forgives him, but when Rey turns to leave the ring, Dominic attacks his father from behind. After leaving his dad lying in the middle of the ring, Dom walks up to The Miz, who has been watching Dom's betrayal unfold on the ramp. Dom holds out his hand, The Miz smiles, shakes Dom's hand, puts an arm around his shoulder, and then ushers him to the back. Now, this likely won't happen, but The Miz is probably due a win after his big pay-per-view losses to Edge recently, so I'm predicting The Miz to defeat Rey Mysterio. Then we have the Smackdown Tag Team Championship match between the Usos and the Viking Raiders. And as much as I'd love to see the Raiders maul the Usos, win the tag team titles, and hit the heights of their NXT and New Japan runs, it ain't happening. Yet, anyway. Various injuries have really hampered Eric and Ivar's run on the main roster, but hopefully that's a thing of the past. I'm fully expecting the Viking Raiders to put on a dominant performance here, but I do think the Usos will manage to eke out a victory, most likely with some heel shenanigans to not only keep the Raiders looking strong, but also to keep them in the title picture heading into WrestleMania. My prediction, the Usos to retain to keep the Tribal Chief happy. Now let's talk about another in-ring return. Ronda Rousey's in-ring return as she teams up with Naomi to take on Charlotte Flair and Sonya Deville. Ronda has received a fair amount of criticism since her return at the Royal Rumble for reasons such as an apparent lack of enthusiasm, so it will be interesting to see if Rousey is able to get the fans back on her side. Having Ronda team with a beloved babyface in Naomi is a clever move by the WWE. Some of that adoration for Naomi may rub off on Ronda, and putting her in a tag team setting allows Ronda to get back into the swing of things before her massive singles match with Charlotte at WrestleMania. Considering this is Ronda's first match back if you don't count the Royal Rumble, I think it's a dead cert that she is winning here. The biggest question is how. Whilst WWE does like to book their champions to lose before a title defense, I can't see Charlotte taking the pinfall because, well, it's Charlotte, which leaves Sonya to take the pinfall. My only hope is that Naomi has a helping hand in putting Sonya down to end their feud once and for all. But I'm going with Ronda and Naomi to win for sure. Next up, we have the polarizing encounter between Roman Reigns and Goldberg for the Universal Championship. Personally, I'm not as negative about the match as some people are, because I've always expected that it would happen at some time or another after their planned encounter at WrestleMania 36 was called off. I think it's a match which is worth seeing before Goldberg hangs it up, especially with this iteration of Roman Reigns' character. It should be a decent match at least. Definitely a lot better than if it was Goldberg versus the big dog, Roman Reigns. The fans in attendance should be super into it as well. But yeah, it's not the most popular match on the card. Though Goldberg is a bigger threat to Roman's title reign than most, I think it's safe to say that Roman is retaining. WWE seems set on booking Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania, unification match or no, and I'm not expecting Bill Goldberg to throw a spanner into the works, especially knowing that this is the last date on his current contract with the company. So my prediction, Roman Reigns. Then we have the Raw Women's Championship match between Becky Lynch and Hall of Famer Lita. Really looking forward to seeing what Lita can do in a singles match capacity. From what we've seen so far, she still has her athleticism and she can still go in the ring. So I'm hoping that this will be a great match. I kind of feel like the match has gone under the radar a little bit, but it's actually been one of the better builds going into the Elimination Chamber. I think both women have done an excellent job on the microphone of building each other up, and it was cool to see Lita get the better of Becky Lynch physically to show that Lynch may be underestimating her experienced opponent. Though, as much as I would love to see Lita turn back the clock and go on another title run 16 years after her last, I just can't see Becky Lynch walking into WrestleMania without the women's title, especially if Bianca Belair does win the Women's Elimination Chamber match. So I'm predicting Becky to retain. However, I am hoping that this isn't a one and done for Lita and that she sticks around for WrestleMania, maybe for another match with someone like Sasha Banks. And then finally we have the Men's Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship. So let's run through each competitor and his chances of winning the match. I'm a big fan of Austin Theory and I think he's done great work since returning to the main roster, but He's not winning this match. There's no doubt that he will put in a good performance though, particularly if he starts the match. Now, you should never bet against AJ Styles to come out on top, and whilst I would love to see another phenomenal title run, I don't think it'll be happening here, but hopefully there will be no cause for concern regarding a spot at WrestleMania if AJ gets what he wants. A mouth-watering match with Edge. As for Riddle, it's certainly an interesting one because if you do believe the rumours, Riddle was initially written down as the winner for the Men's Royal Rumble, before plans changed for Brock Lesnar to win instead. But perhaps those plans were just moved. Could we see Riddle win the Chamber match? Well, I don't think it's entirely out of the question when you consider that a big breakup story with Randy Orton is just waiting to happen. Whilst I'm loving Seth Rollins' work at the moment, I do think he still only has an outside chance of winning here. I thought he might go on to face Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, but that was before there was speculation that KO might be facing a returning Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. Rollins may not win this match, but I think Rollins will cost Brock Lesnar his chance of winning this match, and worm his way into the Universal Championship match between Brock and Roman. A lot of people think Brock will win this match, and make his contest with Roman at WrestleMania a unification match for both world titles. It could happen, but personally I'm not convinced whilst Raw and Smackdown remain on separate networks. As I've said just now, I think Rollins will cost Brock the match, which means that I'm predicting Bobby Lashley to retain. I can't see the Almighty losing the strap so shortly after winning it, so he is my pick to win. God knows who he would face at WrestleMania because everyone else is either on another roster or preoccupied with another opponent. It'll probably be Omos, but this match is definitely a tough one to predict. All in all, whilst these Saudi shows are controversial, they do have stacked cards, and this one is no different. The Elimination Chamber event is always a consistent show anyway, so I'm sure we're in for a fun night of wrestling. I think it's a toss-up between the two chambers for match of the night, but just to recap, my predictions are Bianca, Drew McIntyre, The Miz, The Usos, Ronda and Naomi, Roman Reigns, Becky Lynch and Bobby Lashley. Let me know your predictions for the Elimination Chamber in the comment section down below, and also let me know what you think match of the night will be. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button, please give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at WrestlingByW, hit that like button, give it a share, hit the notification bell to be notified when I release new videos on the channel. I hope you will have great days guys, and I shall see you all for the next one. Bye bye.